think that looks pretty good. I'm trying to darken right here. Base of the crow. On the bottom edge down here above the lace, I want to add some of the browns. So I would, I think, use some of the raw sienna, maybe a little bit of raw umber mixed with that. Let's see what I'm doing here. I get off camera and don't realize it. So I'm just picking up a little bit of raw sienna, side loading it in the brush, and then I'm going to pick up a little bit of burnt umber and blend them together. And then come along and shade right above this. It's a little bit dry. And a touch of water. Shade above our lace. And I'm just side loading across here. We want to give this lace the effect that it's an added on border, so it looks a little more dimensional. So there we've shaded all the way across the top. And we can go back and soften that up a little bit more after it dries. Now on the lace we also want to do some shading down around each of these little cutouts. So I'm going to use a round or a liner brush and some raw sienna plus a tiny bit of the burnt umber. I don't want it as dark as the shading we did up here, but we want to give some shadow around each of these cutouts. So I'm just going to, on the left side, I'm going to go to the left of each cutout and just pull a little line around it, kind of tapered from the top, come out about maybe 1/8 of an inch and taper it back in. And you're going to do that around each of these cutouts, the bottom left. And we're going to do that until we get over to the middle, and then we're going to switch to the opposite side. So raw sienna plus a touch of burnt umber and little water, so it goes on kind of transparent. And you're going to just pull a little line around that left edge. It's maybe 1/8 to 1/16 of 1/8 to a 1/16 of an inch. Just add more paint or water as you need to. Now when we get to the center, I'm going to do more around the bottom because we want to start on the opposite side when we come back, when we move to the right edge. So on the circle here, I'm going to come all the way down around and back up the other side part way. And on the triangles, go around the bottom and do a little bit on the top. Now on this side, instead of doing this side of this cutouts, we're going to go to the right side. Okay, now to highlight the lace, we're going to do all the highlighting in white. And we're going to highlight this top border against the shading with white. We're going to just float that white color, and you can float it either with the Pro Finish medium, or if you like floating with water, you can do that too. So right now I'm just using water. I'm just going to float a heavy white along that top border. And with the highlight against that brown shading we did above, really will make this lace border pop out. Now the rest of the highlighting we'll do on the lace is with doing dry brushing, and I'm using, you can use any type of round dry brush that you like. This one, you can use like a Traditions Dome Blender work well. The Sable Tex that we've been using work well. And to load the brush, I'm just dipping it into white and swirling it on my palette. And you really want that paint smooth in the brush. You don't want any clumps. And then we're going to start dry brushing, and I just do a circular motion, and I want to work this in between all of these cutouts. I don't want to cover all the sand background. I just kind of want to give it just a highlight. So I'm just going all around each cutout, maybe a eighth of an inch, quarter of an inch away from the cutout. Because you don't want to go over the shading you just put in, and you want some of the background color to show through, because the 3 different values will give you more dimension. So I'm just very quickly just scrubbing in just a white soft highlight around each of the cutouts. Kind of works your arm muscles. Getting a kink in my neck. You just want to make sure you get some white dry brush in between all of those cutouts. And then if you'd like, you can do some little detail, like, if I can find my liner brush now, some stitching around the top edge. Just keep it very fine. And I'm just using the white and raw umber mix. Some water in it, so it's a little transparent, so it's not real, doesn't jump out at you too much. You don't, if it's a little transparent, it's a little softer looking than if it gets too solid. And I'm just running little stitch marks following that contour of that upper border. If you want, you could run the stitching all around the edges. No. And try that, see how that looks. You have a good liner brush, you can just stitch forever without adding paint. I'm starting to get a little bit light now. Probably do some dry brushing on the crow. Do some on his head, maybe some down here on his wing that'll soften him up a lot. And you can see I didn't even load paint in it. There's enough paint from when we were dry brushing the border on the lace that I don't even need to add any more. Even dry brush a little on the highlights on the pears if you feel like they need to be softened down. Getting close. Need some lettering on our little tag. We need a string tying it to the basket. Trying to think what other things. We need our Pearberry vine down around the bottom. I was going to put a little tie around the crow's neck. So let's do the strings around the crow's neck and the string tag. I'd like those to be just sort of like a raffia. So I'm going to use the raw sienna and a touch of white to mix up kind of a straw color. You can even add a touch of yellow if you'd like. Makes it a little bit brighter yellow. And I'm going to just draw a couple of lines, like string around the basket. Run it down into the hole of the tag and out the other side. And then I'm going to do a couple loopy, like a raffia bow. And when you just do that one color, it just doesn't show up very much, so we're going to go back and highlight some of those with some white. And you can shade them with some one of the browns. Everything seems to work better if it has 3 values. So I'm not trying to outline real evenly, just want to give the effect that there's some shadows going on here. We're going to do the same thing on the crow. I'll use a little more just raw sienna on him. I'll just do a single one around his neck. Highlight it while it's wet. Didn't like my loops, so I had to wipe them off again. I had them spread out too far. Highlight this with some white. And now to do the grapevine. or pearberry vine. Which was the drawing I'd originally done, so the vine is coming up from behind the basket, behind the bird, and then wrapping around over here to the right. So, using that as a kind of a model, we're going to paint in some vine, and I'm just going to use the little round liner brush that I've been using, and we're going to start out with a dark brown with a touch of the blue in it, kind of that gray black we've been using. And you don't want your vine to be real straight, so you want to, we're starting it here just about around the rim of the basket, and I find it just jagged around, and then we're going to come down underneath the crow, behind the crow's stand, and over here along the edge of the basket. So we're going to kind of soften the edge down here where the basket and the tabletop meet, and then come back over here on top of the pear. And you're just going to continue doing this in a variety of lines. First with this darker color. Well, this one I'm doing just happens to be a little more brown. So, you know, the color's going to vary as you brush mix it. Just add a little water to make it flow. And if you don't want your vine so jaggedy, you can let it flow a little bit smoother. But you want it to crisscross and overlap, and kind of like a grapevine would. You can add a little bit of red into that too. A little too much red. I want to save the brighter reds for our berries. And some of your vines could be a little thicker. They don't have to be the same width. Just freeform it. Okay, once you've got a lot of the darks in, go back and add a few highlights using either the raw sienna, or you might want to even add a little bit of white to it. And then we want to add some leaves and berries. Now the leaves I'm just going to do in burnt umber. These are just going to be little just simple leaves. These are going to be the dark colors that you use for the vine. Burnt umber, and then you can also do a little raw umber with the phthalo blue added. Those leaves are just kind of freeform. You can, if you want to trace them in, you can, but I'm just scattering them here and there. And the same will be with our berries. Dropping your paintbrush isn't a good idea. For me, I tend to do that when I get tired, so. Get this finished pretty quickly and finish up for the night. Okay, I think, kind of put in the leaves until you feel like you've got a good variation of them. You can do more or less, it just depends on what you like. I'll put one more here. Okay. And then we're going to do some berries. And the berries, because we're going to do kind of red berries, it's going to be hard to get them to show up on this background. So I'm going to base them all in with white first. And then we'll go back and add the reds over top of the white. So I'm just going to use the round brush and just draw white circles wherever I would like a berry to be. And you can cluster them, or you can do them singly. But again, just scatter them around in a random order. Or you can trace them in from the pattern. And these are probably about maybe 1/8 of an inch in diameter. Don't want to get them too big for the scale of the picture. 1/4 inch would be probably way too much. Do a few more up here at the start. I think that's probably a good mix. You gotta wait till the white dries before you go over with the red, so some of these I think are just about dry. So again, I think the naphtha red by itself would probably be just a little too bright, so I want to add a little bit of the burnt umber to it. And you can vary the color of the berries. You don't have to make them all the same. You want them all the red, but you know, some you can make a little brighter, some a little duller with the addition of the burnt umber. So again, go back and just paint over the white circles with the red berries. I'm thinking as I go along, some might even be pretty to do in the raw sienna, and then just add a red accent to them. So let's do a few of each. See, I make things up as I go along. This color really would be a pearberry. Okay, so we'll do some in the raw sienna, and then I will go back and do some more in the deep red. So we have a variation. makes a pretty mix. Using our little 1/4 inch angle, I'm going to take some of the red mix, actually more of the, let's use more bright red, the naphtha red light, and go back and float one side of these gold berries. Then our red berries, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try floating them with the phthalo blue and see what that does. That's a nice shading. And then to give just a little sparkle to each one, we're going to add a little dot of white in the upper right. Like there's a little glossy highlight from the light touching them. Now this design, if you don't want to paint it on the little lace banner cutout, it would also work on a 12 by 12 canvas. You just need to enlarge the pattern, I think 150%, because this is about 8 by 8, the painted area, and a 12-inch canvas would be 50% larger. Do a little crescent stroke. Crescent stroke on the lower left for a little reflective light shine. I'm going to go back and little stronger highlight on there. Now this background up here, I feel like it needs a little bit of color added, so I'm going to add in some accent colors, and again we're going to use just all the colors that we used in our painting. And I'm using just one of the sable text. It gives a nice soft way to blend in, and just put in some of the Pro Finish medium. Maybe pick up, some of the colors that we've used in the painting. And slap them around the edges. And it gives a vignette effect to the background. The light reflects while this is wet, so it's hard to see it on the camera. But that gives you just a very soft, diffused background that picks up the colors that are in your design. Now the only thing we have left is to add some lettering on the tag, and you can add whatever you want. Right now I'm just gonna, I think, write pears in the dark brown so that it doesn't jump out at you too much. And you probably want to maybe trace this down before you do it, but let's see what happens if I freehand. One of the keys to lettering is not to try to do exact same size letters. Sometimes if you just do crazy different sizes and shapes, upper and lower case, they're not quite perfect. It's not so noticeable. Try not to go over it too much either. So I'm going to do just maybe a little fine outline. Help cover up my graphite lines. And clean up the edges. I do see I have a graphite line there on that pear, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to erase that or not. I just try softening it up a little bit. The only thing we have left to do now is a banner that goes at the top of the sign. And let's see, I had one painted the screen color. I don't know if I like that color though. But we're going to take a break for now, and we'll get back to the banner in the next session.